Ghana, Jane Opoku-Agyeman says women in Ghana will be given opportunities to attain their dreams as the world marks Women's Day.
And a bit later, we have a special feature putting the spotlight on the female warrior guarding the Gonja King. You'll want to stay for that and more here on Weekend Central.
In barely 48 hours, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kassia Latto-Forson, will present the John Mahama-led government's first budget. It is expected to mark a significant step in the president's commitment to resetting the economy. Minister of State in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwatiofosu, says that the financial statement will address the needs of Ghanaians.
The budget will capture the state of the Ghanaian economy and bring Ghanaians up to speed on what exactly we inherited. Yes, the president made incursions into the state of the economy during the State of the Nation address, but the Finance Minister will present greater details in terms of what we met. The budget will also respond to the economic crisis bequeathed to us by the NPP administration.
We can now speak to Dr. Peter Tetpe. He is an economist, and he joins us online with more details on this particular story. Now, Doc, we expect some tax handles like the e-levy, the betting tax, among others, to be scrapped. How can the government bridge that revenue gap?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Indeed, it is going to be a very tough moment for this government because of the situation they've met. As the president stated, that situations were worse than he expected. And if you have met such a situation and then you promise to reduce taxes, and we all know how revenue generation has become a major problem in this economy, then indeed it's going to be a tough one for government. However, it will be difficult for government to also introduce new taxes while they reduce or they scrap some old ones or rationalize how they want to determine. What then have to be looked at is how to reduce expenditure. And I think that government is doing everything in its powers to do so, with regards to what we have seen over the period, where the president seems to be looking at everywhere they can save every peso. And things like the Independence Day celebration that has reduced drastically. I think that these are some of the things that are proving that indeed government wants to reduce costs. And so we are hoping that the budget will reflect how government is going to reduce expenditure and how it's going to maximize revenue with regards to where the gaps are.
Right. Now, Doc, do you expect new taxes to be introduced, and what must be done to ensure that these significant changes do not derail the program with the IMF?
I don't expect government to introduce new taxes because the new taxes that have been introduced in the past is only the few minority Ghanaians who have been paying the tax who keep to be bearing the cost or the burden anytime new taxes are introduced. And so what needs to be done is to look at how to broaden the tax net. And I think that this language has been very common over the past years, where every government say want to broaden the tax net, want to look at areas where government can increase tax, like property tax, how to bring in the informal sector to also expand the tax net. And I think that government has to bring out innovative means of increasing the tax net by bringing in more people, because when you have quite a large number of people paying tax and the rate is even low, you maximize revenue. But if you keep increasing taxes, because the way of increasing revenue is not to be imposing taxes, rather look at how to expand the basket for majority of Ghanaians who are doing business, both formal and informal, will continue to pay tax.
Now, Doc, there have been some critics who say that taxes like the COVID tax should not be scrapped, but rather it should be left and channeled to other specific areas, probably in the health sector. What do you make of such critics?
COVID tax has outlived its usefulness and should be scrapped. The word is COVID tax. Don't forget that already the VAT has been rationalized, where we have levies already on it. We have the debt fund levy and we have the national health insurance, and then you have VAT on it. And so the COVID tax has outlived its usefulness and has to be scrapped because it is a burden on businesses that are already struggling to survive in terms of doing business in the economy. And so you don't have to worsen the case. I think one of the confidence Ghanaians have in this current government is because of some of these taxes that they said they want to reduce.
Right, and before you go, you spoke about the fact that government should make sure they reduce expenditure. What other measures do you think they should take, apart from what we've already seen, for instance, the president trying to maintain a lean government as of now?
One of the major challenges of past government is procurement inefficiencies. Government is wasting a lot of money on procurement, where there is sole sourcing in almost every contract. And project or contract that will have cost, say, 1 million, you end up government, after procurement and inefficiencies, costing more than double. And so if government is able to bring the efficiencies in procurement practices, government is going to save a lot of money. Also, government must prioritize its capital expenditure. Avoid spreading projects across the country, where various projects, you ask them, they'll tell you they are various stages of completion, and they will never be completed. And so government needs to prioritize this expenditure and close the gap in the procurement inefficiencies. And I can tell you that if government does that, government is going to save a lot of money. There are so many areas that government can save money that government doesn't need to introduce any new tax.
Right. Many thanks for your time. I've been speaking with economist Dr. Peter Tetbe. He has been giving us more details on really what government should do and what measures they should take in the upcoming budget to be read in the next 48 hours.
Well, let's still stay on the economy, because economist Professor Stephen Adai says the nation's failure to look beyond an election cycle means major challenges are left unresolved. He wants government to prioritize long-term planning. Take a listen.
When I joined the UN, I was with the UNDP for 11.5 years. And the first, as an economic advisor, the first thing they did was there was 4 of us recruited to let us tour all the Asian developing countries, South Korea, Thailand, and all of them, Malaysia, to see. And one of the things that really struck me was that each one of them had what they call Economic Advisory Bureau or National Economic Bureau, various forms of National Development Planning Commission. And they were highly respected. They were well equipped with intellectuals. In fact, in South Korea, Park went to World Bank and IMF and said, every one of you there, come home, I will pay you the same, because of how he valued the intellectual capital. And the Korean Development Institute was such a brain behind the Korean. And interestingly, all the countries had them. In Ghana, sad to say, we have made politics an end in itself. Let me tell you that our governments are not interested in the National Development Planning Commission. They don't fund them. They don't equip them with the technical personnel which is needed, and most of the time, they wouldn't listen. I was chairman of NDPC for 2.5 years. The council itself couldn't have a dialogue once with the president.
We'll stay on the budget, and founding president of Imani Africa, Franklin Cudjoe, meanwhile says the government must be aggressive in the quest to turn around the state-owned enterprises which have recorded losses for many years. This, he believes, could help government bridge the revenue gap.
Until we say that, look, it is hard capital, it is hard currency, that somebody needs to pay for it, nothing will work. And as I said, if I had my way, 95% of those SOEs will be buried and resurrected after 3 days, after injecting in them some real sense of private sector thinking, not necessarily ownership, participation as well. By the way, all those things we are saying must be done with data. You see, most of the time, you don't do it with data, which leads to the problem. Look, this problem on the African continent, let me just give this example. This problem on the African continent where governments fail to give real data when a private sector person is coming into the system is problematic. Bywater in the UK, similar challenges in Tanzania, but they did not get all the real data of what the public pipe system was in Tanzania. When they were, it's the same thing here. We don't never get all the data. If we got all the data, we'll be able to reinvent the wheel. And by the way, like I said, at the end of the day, we should be careful. I understand that there's some private sector participation to take place in the legislative subsector. Then I ask myself, I've gone through all the papers I've seen again. What did PDS really do wrong? PDS necessarily did not do that wrong. They achieved some results. But because of that chronic capitalist arrangement, that led to some issues about insurance guarantee and all kinds of nonsense. Unfortunately, that's what led to it. So now that they want to go about it, I'll press the minister. Have you seen the data that people, the Philippines actually worked? We got some real value if they were allowed to work. But because of people sharing 10%, 20%, there was an open fight. And all of a sudden, the thing broke. And we are blaming the system, the participator. But we are not blaming the system, the process. You understand? So we need to work with data. But having said that, if I had my way, I'll privatize ECG without blinking at all. I'll solve the thing.
Well, away from the economy, let's delve into agriculture because the Ghana Agriculture Workers Union, GAU, is pushing for the creation of an agricultural service in order to make the sector more self-sufficient. To GAU, creating an independent body to ensure pragmatic formulation of agriculture policies would help drive the primary sector. Well, William Evans Inkum sat through the workshop and he joins us because GAU has also been sharing some concerns. Good afternoon, Williams, and thanks for joining us on Weekend Central. Evans, the sector remains a key pillar in most developing or developed economies. Unfortunately, in Ghana, most policies on agriculture have failed. What to GAU are the major problems?
Well, so GAU is looking at it from a multifaceted approach. One has to do with what they claim to be some of the department not having some level of independence. So, for instance, according to the Deputy General Secretary of GAU, I mean, some of the departments still operate under the local government ministry, and to him, it's about time a body, an independent body, is created for such department to be able to propel some pragmatic measures. I mean, in terms of policy formulation and all of that to government in order to making the primary sector, of course, have agri a sustainable one. Let's listen to Dr. Pascal Kaba as he explains further.
We cannot continue to do agriculture as a business as usual. We must rethink our ways in doing agriculture and make agriculture a business. We must ensure that agriculture becomes a business. And if agriculture should become a business, we have to look at the value chain very importantly. For instance, why do we think why should we have a Ghana Health Service, have a Ghana Education Service, but we don't have a Ghana agriculture service? Whatever policies the government of Ghana intends to bring on board, for those policies must become a reality. It means the people who work within the agriculture value chain, who are the staff of the agriculture service, will play a very key role. And so if these employees within that sector still operate under another sector, which is the local government sector, then at the end of the day, it becomes difficult for them to implement their own policies.
And William, they've also been given a revelation on the farmer extension ratio. What do we know?
Well, they call it a huge gap, looking at, a farmer or the number of farmers who, take some level of advice from, an extension officer. And here he is pegging the ratio, 1 to 1,000, which to him is very terrible. Let's listen to him.
The farmer extension ratio is a very big issue. Currently, we operate with a farmer extension ratio of 1:1,500, while the standard is 1:500. And so we think that most people come out from this agriculture colleges and they are unemployed. Why should we use taxpayers' money for people to train people? Then at the end of the day, these people become unemployed.
Williams, before you part company, successive governments have tried their best to rope in the youth into agriculture. They think it's not really a lucrative venture. I don't know if that came up, and then what are they saying about that?
Well, absolutely. So it was actually a workshop on a green job from the Frederick Egbert Stepton Ghana Foundation, and they have been giving them some level of tutorial in terms of climate change and all of that. Youth in agriculture, as we all know, is one of the flagship policies in this current administration. But to GAU, if the right buttons are not pressed, then we're going to have a situation just as we recorded in previous administrations. So for government to be able to achieve that economic transformation agenda, then of course youth in agriculture cannot be exempted from the plan. But if that one can also be feasible, then there should be some level of, proactive and pragmatic measures that will drive the primary sector, which of course has agri.
Williams, thank you so much. Williams Evans Inkum is our Ashanti regional correspondent, and he was part of a workshop organized by GAO who want to ensure that the sector is viable and self-reliant. Judith.
Absolutely. We stay in the Ashanti region because the Fija-Kwabre South Municipal Assembly has suspended the operationalization of a quarry fund meant to generate internal revenue to execute developmental projects in the area. Now, the reason for the action, according to the Assembly, was due to a forceful illegal takeover of the revenue point by some thugs just after the December 7, 2024 elections. However, some concerned Assembly members say that the move will impede developmental projects in the municipality and must be reserved or reversed. Now, addressing the media, the group claims that the decision was taken without consultation with elected Assembly members, a move which they say is against their bylaws.
The sudden suspension of quarry fund revenue mobilization without involving the Assembly members is another act of disregard for our collective governance responsibilities. The quarry fund is a crucial revenue stream for district development, and its management should involve all stakeholders, especially the elected representatives. We request, 1, a detailed explanation for this decision, and then 2, a review of process to ensure that revenue mobilization is done fairly and efficiently. 3, immediate engagement with Assembly members to determine the best way forward. The continual failure of the DCD to engage elected Assembly members in key financial decisions and her lack of commitment to resolving these issues clearly demonstrates incompetence and lack of leadership. Exactly. We, the elected Assembly members, have lost confidence in her ability to lead the district administration effectively.
Well, Ibrahim Abubakar joins us for more on this particular subject. Ibrahim, good afternoon. Now, this is obviously one of the major revenue streams in the district. Now, have you spoken to the district assembly on whether the suspension of the fund would be reversed, and what implication is the suspension currently having on development in the area?
Well, like you rightly mentioned, one of their major revenue stream, because this quarry fund that was established somewhere 2020, on the average, they are telling us that in a week, they are able to generate not less than 50,000 Ghana cedis from this fund, which means that from December till now, the Assembly has lost close to 600,000 cedis or even more. These are monies aside the taxes and other commitments that the quarry companies pay. They also pay 5 cedis each per each vehicle that moves every day. So these monies were used to construct roads, build infrastructure for education, healthcare, and the rest. Now these monies are not coming. The Assembly says just after the election, there were some tax who took over the revenue mobilization for 2 weeks, and they were able to go with about 200,000 Ghana cedis, and for that matter, they needed to suspend it. They are just waiting for a new MC to be brought to the area so that they will re-strategize and reverse this decision, because this is not something they are also even happy about, because for now, when you look at the revenue that they are generating, it's quite insignificant to the development of the area. So those plans are there, but the Assembly members, of course, are saying that for how long are they going to wait? If the president does not appoint any MC, let's say for the next 6 months or 1 year, it means that they are losing all these revenue. So they want, as a matter of urgency, since they have the coordinating director, to put in place mechanism so that we do not have the lease tax going to take the revenue, but we have dedicated staff who will still pick this revenue and contribute to the development of the area. So that is where the issue is coming. Now we are hearing that Ashanti Regional Minister would want to intervene, but we are yet to see what's next, what action you also take next.
Right, many thanks for your time. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar bringing us details on that query suspension there. But we're going to stay still in the Ashanti region because the recent fire explosion at Konongo Odumase in the Ashanti region has exposed the dangers of selling mining explosives in the heart of the town. Now, a fire that started in one of the shops quickly spread to nearby houses, resulting in the loss of 3 lives and damaging over a dozen buildings. Now, the regional minister has directed the arrest of persons who engage in an open sale of dynamites in unauthorized places.
On Wednesday, March 5, 2025, residents of Konongo Odumase faced an explosion-related disaster. A fire that spread to a shop selling dynamite resulted in a major explosion, killing 3 people and destroying multiple homes. The Minerals and Mining Regulations of 2012 explicitly prohibit the sale of mining explosives in unsecure locations, such as the center of towns. However, this practice remains prevalent in Odumase. The chief of the area expressed his concerns when the Regional Security Council visited the explosion site.
Is a police force be omo juma se sefata be ya obi ton dynamite dem fi se nyefie ne ton ko ton ko masi be bi kra fi se e declare han e nya sa no an for me so dem na ton kete microphone ya to yen chamber.
The Minerals Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency disclosed that the owner of the shop had no permit to engage in the sale of mining explosives.
I'm told that the people who were operating that shop have absconded, but the police they are investigating and tracking them. They have instructed the security agencies, the BNI, the National Security, the police, the CID, to conduct a thorough investigation, especially across the mining communities, to find out if there are any other people who are selling these explosives right in town. It is out of, lawlessness that someone would host such explosives and be selling in the house. So there's always a situation, but I can assure you that the security agencies would do all the investigation to make sure that they correct same and also bring to books those who perpetrated this act.
For the 30 households affected by the incident, the ministers promised 5,000 Ghana cedis each to assist in repairing their homes while they await federal government support. Out of the 5 injured individuals, 3 have been treated and discharged, while the remaining 2 have been referred to Komfanochi Teaching Hospital for further treatment. Investigations into the incident are ongoing to establish the cause of the fire. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Konongo Odumase, Ashanti region.
Well, let's stay on exclusive at this time in the Western region because the regional head of the Minerals Commission, Francis Anoble Jr., has appealed to the public to report transporters or individuals engaging in reckless transportation of explosives and ammonium nitrate. And speaking at the Explosives and Ammonium Nitrate Management Workshop in Takrady, he cautioned that the Western region was at a higher risk of explosions compared to other regions. Here's a report by Rama Smith.
Following the devastating Apiati and the Anto-Aboso explosions, all in the Western region, the safe handling of explosives and ammonium nitrate has become a pressing concern within the quarry and mining communities. It is in response to the that the Western Regional Office of the Minerals Commission has decided to engage the transporters in dialogue with emphasis on the critical importance of transportation, storage and handling of explosives. Speaking on the dangers of transporting explosives and ammonium nitrate at an engagement, Western Regional Head of the Minerals Commission, Francis Anoble Jr., cautioned that the Western region faces a higher risk of explosions compared to the other regions.
For now, most of the companies involved in the explosives and ammonium nitrates are centered here, most of them.
are centered here. So I would say the risk is high as compared to other regions because most of the importations are through the Takoradi port. Most of the storage facilities are within the western region before it goes to the other regions. So I would say it's a high risk region, but we are managing it.
He appealed to the public to report any reckless transporter, adding that the Commission has learned valuable lessons from the Apiati incident.
What happened at Apiati, even though it was during transportation, we have learned a lot and there has been measures in place. So, for instance, now you cannot transport ammonium nitrate fuel oil. But before, the law allows that, you understand, but after the Apiati incident, that has been abolished, you understand. So it is now mixed on site before you can mix and transport. But currently, you cannot do that. You have to send the product to the site before you can do the mixing there. So it's all part of the lessons we've learned from that experience.
Western Regional Chief Inspector of Mines, Desmond Boahene, who spoke about the legal requirements for the transportation of explosives, mentioned the penalties for flouting them.
There are some provisions that have penalties. So depending on what contravention or what breach that there is, you will be levied the penalty. Now, there is a general penalty under the Regulation 7, which calls for whenever there is no penalty to a contravention, then that will be levied against you. And that is, you can go to prison for 3 to 6 months, or you pay 50 to 100 penalty units.
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Takoradi.
We'll stay on the same subject, and the Ghana Institute of Safety and Environmental Professionals has called on the government to fast-track the passage of the Occupational Safety and Health Bill into law. Now, this follows a tragic explosion at mining shops in Udumasi near Konongo in the Ashanti region, which claimed 3 lives.
All these are happening because we don't have one framework that manages all this into detail. In Ghana here, as we speak, we have several frameworks, okay, and some are existing with the Ghana National Fire Service. NADMO has a little. You go to EPA, they have some. You go to Ghana Standard Board. So when we talk about health and safety management, environmental management, they are scattered. But assuming we have an authority, one body trying to make sure all these things are harmonized, and we have the resources to make sure that these accidents don't happen, then it's going to help. Look, for 30 years now, the Occupational Health and Safety Bill has been shelved. And anytime they want to even send to Parliament, something will happen, it will not work. Every year, year after year, government after government, we have been updating this policy to no avail. Okay, so if we have that authority there, then definitely companies and organizations will know that they cannot make such simple mistakes.
Well, if you just tune in, you are watching Weekend Central here on TV3. In more news this afternoon, civil society organizations fighting against illegal mining are intensifying pressure on the government to replace the executive director of the Minerals Commission and certain police commanders in the eastern region for compromising efforts to combat illegal mining in forest reserves. Convener and Deputy National Director of Operations at Arocha, Ghana, Darrell Bosu, argues that the actions of these individuals are emboldening illegal miners to continue the activities in forest reserves.
Ghana has lost 44 of its forest reserves to illegal and unregulated mining activities. The situation worsened after the previous parliament passed legislative instrument LI 2462 permitting mining in forest reserves. Since then, Ghana's protected forest cover continued to shrink, with water bodies and the habitat of key animal species devastated. The current government last year promised to repeal LI 2462 and implement reforms to regulate the mining sector. However, civil society groups against illegal mining are now concerned about the government's ineptitude to repeal the LI. At a news conference, Deputy Director of Operations at Arocha, Ghana, Darobusu said the delay in repealing the law is encouraging some miscreants to continue invading protected forests.
Previous and past governments agree that LI 2462 is counterproductive to our sustainable development and must be revoked. There is therefore no reason why this law continues to exist in our statute books. LI 2462 must be revoked with immediate effect, and all mining concessions issued for forest reserves in Ghana revoked as well.
He urged the government to retool the Forestry Commission to effectively address issues of illegal mining. Additionally, the CSOs reiterated their demand for the immediate replacement of the Executive Director of the Minerals Commission and police commanders in Chebi for failing to uphold their responsibilities in the fight against illegal mining.
The failure to enforce effectively laws against illegal mining in parts of the eastern region is a clear indication of poor leadership and complacency by both the Divisional and Eastern South Command, all located at Chebi in the eastern region of Ghana. We are therefore calling for a more proactive law enforcement and effective leadership by asking for the replacement of the Eastern South Police Commander DCOP George Bwedi Bosman and ACP Renosam, Divisional Police Commander, for their inability to curb illegal mining activities in the region. We call on the government to, as a matter of urgency, replace the Executive Director of the Minerals Commission with a visionary leader who would usher in a new era of responsible mining.
The group also called for the continuation of a policy that allows for confiscated excavators to be burnt as a deterrent to those who destroy the environment. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
You're still watching Weekend Central live on DSTV channel 279. Facebook is TV3 Ghana. There's more news after the break. Stay with us.
meningitis. So far, as you know, we don't have any deaths and we don't have any situation. And the regulatory team evaluated it successfully. I'm walking into a meeting with them this morning. Immediately I leave here to get to be briefed on the whole exercise that happened. And most of the communities were rich and they had the necessary education. Job aids were distributed. They met with our specialists and then our experts who came to support us. And we hope that, and we only did not do that just for a temporary relief, because we do know very well that very soon we'll be going into more outbreaks, especially the meningitis. Now we're going into a different strain which can actually cause a whole lot of challenges to the health system. So we also prepare towards that.
And now let's cross over to Fiama in the Bono East region, where the absence of a senior high school and a proper motorable road, as well as a functioning hospital, is slowly eroding the social fabric of this very community. And let's join our regional correspondent, Belinda Tete, for more updates on this. Belinda, what consequences is this situation having on the residents?
Right. When you go to Fiama, Fiama is popularly known for the sanctuary, which is the monkey sanctuary, which attracts tourists from all headers to the area. But when you get into the community, right at the entrance of Fiama, or the entrance of Guabin Fiama, so it's a twin community. We have Guabin and Fiama. Right at the entrance, the first thing that greets you is the road. It's so deplorable. And for a community like Fiama that has names spread across all continents, for the road to be that bad, it's quite worrying. And when you get into the community, they do not have a senior high school. And they also do not have a proper hospital. The only CHIPS compound that they have has only one bed and one delivery bed as well. So the bed is for when they are admitting someone, they have only one bed for admitting someone. And a delivery bed is only one. And the facility itself is nothing to write home about. So it's quite a worry. And I've been speaking to the residents. They express the worry that this situation is posing on them. Let's take a listen to the residents.
We have a secondary school here to encourage the youth to participate or take part. But since we don't have, some of them, they don't feel happy going to other communities to school. First of all, it will improve economic activities here. Because when the traders said their goods, they will get people to buy. And also people will rent rooms.
Our main challenge in this constituency is our road network. And it gets to the rain season. From now going, when the rain starts, it will be difficult for a bus, the OA, the VIP buses to come here. Simply because when it rains, the road is very rough. And it's not more trouble. Sometimes when you are going to Nkranza with even a motorbike, a common motorbike, you find it very difficult.
Teachers and students be more mobile pam near my tell of us, ya pam money, mamma, ya scared and free. No more crumbs or mutter, Bianen, and near Mamma Colonia than Ecoso. How be? Secondary school, they have baby. Yeah, and my sister down. What's it down? First school for me, it's my had it. Nina, I say, calling yet. Say, every officer, Uber baby, school up, say, go and shoot her, over and walk. Because school, but could hide there. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. Belinda Tete is a Bono East regional correspondent. She was bringing us up to speed on how some lack of amenities in Fiama is disadvantaging the community. Judith.
Exactly. Now, let's do some more stories. And in a society where being a warrior is seen as a reserve of men due to cultural and traditional beliefs, women who try to change the narrative are often tagged as witches. Today, on International Women's Day, we put the spotlight on a female warrior guarding the king of the Gonja Kingdom.
The Oxford English Dictionary defines a warrior as a brave or experienced fighter. Traditionally, warriors are seen as defenders of chiefs and hold a vital expression of their spirits. Just as chiefs are born into royal families, warriors are also born into the warrior clan. Being a warrior is more than about fighting. It is about service to the community and protection of their homeland. Apart from bravery, warriors are also seen to be spiritually powerful. I have come to the home of Munira Adams, who has defied all odds to be the bodyguard of the king of Gonja Kingdom, Yagbonwura Bi Kunuto Jewusole.
Why I always guide the Yagbonwura, he's my uncle, and we are from the same gate. And all what I'm wearing, the Yagbonwura knows what is on me. And anytime I'm guiding him, even though I can't say I'm the one protecting him, but he knows I can protect him.
In northern Ghana, when you hear about warriors, all that comes to mind is to see men dressed in some regalia with talisman all over their bodies.
There are women who are even brave. They are more brave than me. But you know, if your gate, if you can't be in Bonra at your gate, you can't just go in for the dress or just go and beg, or you go and say, oh, I want to be in Bonra, give me that. No.
She narrates her journey into the warriorship.
Being a warrior as a woman, before you be a warrior, even if you are a man, you have some things to do before you can be a warrior. When you eat, chop, bath, you try yourself. So if even there are not, if I don't even wear this dress with my things I'm holding, you can still try all what you want to do. It won't work because I bath and chop.
So does it mean that if I shoot you with a gun right now, it will not enter?
No. It won't enter.
You want me to try?
Yes, you can try.
But how is she able to blend her duties as a bodyguard to the king and her duties as a wife?
And for my husband, we've stayed for long. We are having 5 children now. And he knows our gates, all what is tradition, our gate, he knows. So he understands me well because he doesn't feel like maybe telling me, oh, don't go, don't do this, don't do this, because he knows I'm really working.
For Munira's husband, he believes his wife is well fortified to withstand any physical and spiritual attacks.
Being Muslims, sometimes we are not able to go deep. But as a Gonja, everybody knows that Gonjas are warriors. And you are a warrior. When you are coming out, it's not by your making. They are the spiritual backings. And for talking of weapons, I don't think anything can happen to my wife.
As Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark International Women's Day, Munira has a message for women born into the warrior clan.
And they are women. I want them to look at me and also pick so that we women will be plenty in our destiny, so that there will be trust and respect for us.
Warriors in Gonjaland are the people who protect or are seen as protectors of their chiefs. Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Salaga.
Interesting story there on a female warrior in the northern region. Let's still stay on International Women's Day, and the Affirmative Action Bill was passed last year, and now there's much anticipation about its implementation. Now, to help address disparities in male-dominated fields like the extractive and cocoa sectors, Women in these sectors have been urged to leverage the bill to break the ties of gender imbalances. There's more in this report by Ikia Ofuriwa Dako.
Women in extractives are often found at the lower echelon of the chain with unstable earnings and less job security. Likewise, women in the cocoa sector are also generally vulnerable to employment. Although some progress has been made towards women assuming top positions in governance, extractive sector and academia, experts say there are still wider gaps to bridge. In an interview with the coordinator of the Affirmative Action Law Coalition, Enyonam Ahaji stressed that it is imperative for an increased awareness creation about the affirmative action bill in these sectors and other male-dominated professions for equal representation of women and men.
For women groups, we just want them to know that now there's a legal framework which makes it imperative that from now to 2026, at least 30% representation or a quota system is left for women in Ghana to fill up all levels of decision making. It's not just for the politics or the public sector, but even in the private sector.
At a multi-stakeholder engagement, Women in Law and Development in Africa, WILDAF, under the Power of Voices Partnerships Fair for All project, engaged women's groups to push for further action towards gender equality, justice and equity.
What better way than to use this as the occasion, first of all, to highlight the need for women to be in those sectors, to lead in those sectors. And also, now that we have the new law, the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Law, to see how that law can also facilitate women's participation in these sectors.
On 30th July 2024, Ghana's Parliament passed the Affirmative Action Gender Equality Bill, ending a process that began in 1998. Addressing the forum, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor of the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT, Professor Grace Ofori Sapon-Ekufu said that although the Affirmative Action Bill is a critical step towards achieving greater equality and inclusivity, women should rise up to the challenge.
What is the representation? If you really want to put mathematics to it, we will not even reach 10% when we talk about women that have voices in decision making. We will not reach 10%. I believe that at least if we get to 30, we will know that we are getting somewhere. I'm saying 30 because it resonates. Even in the Affirmative Action Act, we have 30% in there.
This year's forum is tagged Accelerate Action and Empower Excellence, Women Leading the Way in the Extractives and Cocoa Value Chain in Ghana. Ikia Ofuriwa Dako, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, Vice President Professor Nana Jane-Opoku-Agyeman says government is committed to creating opportunities for women to thrive. She made this known in a message delivered to mark International Women's Day.
Over the years, we have made significant strides in advancing gender equality and empowering women. Under our current leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we have taken bold steps and remain dedicated to ensuring that women have the opportunities, resources, and the support needed to excel. Some of the key initiatives include the establishment of the Women's Development Fund to provide financial support to women entrepreneurs, ensuring that we have the capital and other forms of support to take action, expand our businesses, affirmative actions to increase the representation of women in leadership and governance, paving the way for more women to take their rightful places at decision-making tables. These ideas mark progress, but we know that the journey towards true equality is far from over. Women still face challenges along all spheres of life, but with the increase in representation, we will hold the door for many women to pass through to achieve their full potential. We all must do better to support the women of Ghana. As we celebrate this day, let us reaffirm our collective commitment to building a Ghana where every woman and girl has the freedom to dream, the power to achieve, and the support to excel. Empowering women is not just a women's issue. It is a national imperative. When women thrive, families, communities, nations prosper. Let us accelerate action for our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, and for the future of our great nation. A happy International Women's Day to all of us. Let us continue to accelerate action.
You heard the first female vice president of Ghana, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Still on International Women's Day, women entrepreneurs continue to face systemic barriers that hinder their business success, including access to credit and a lack of policy support, creating gender gaps in entrepreneurship. Speaking at the AGRA Ghana Forum in Accra, Minister of State for the Public Sector Reforms, Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba, says there are ongoing reforms in the sector to give women financial independence.
Women entrepreneurs in Africa face adverse social and cultural norms to low-income earnings. In most cases, there is a huge disparity in financing gap between men and women. Value for Her is AGRA's continental initiative aimed at strengthening women's agribusiness enterprises and enhancing voice and advocacy across Africa. The Minister of State in charge of public sector reforms, Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba, who joined others to mark International Women's Day, says ongoing reforms in the sector will eliminate these barriers against women.
It is our responsibility to make sure that even the disabled or the differently able people are represented. So we are working hard to make sure that at the end of the day, people that cannot in actual fact do certain things or can do things differently will be able to be part of this our trade industry and entrepreneurship.
Country Director for AGRA Ghana, Dr. Betty Annan, also said the narrative is changing with the formation of AGRA in 2006.
A 2023 report compiled by FAO on the status of women in agri-food systems revealed that if women had the same access to productive resources as men, they would increase yield on their farms by 20 to 30%, potentially reducing the number of hungry and malnourished people across the globe by 100 to 150 million. These are not just numbers. These are lives that would be changed, economies that would be strengthened, and futures that will be redefined for a better tomorrow.
Well, away from International Women's Day, in a world where religious and cultural differences often create division, NIMA is embracing religious diversity. It is home to Christians, Muslims, and people from diverse ethnic backgrounds who have learned to cohabit. In our Ghana Month series, Christabel Success takes a look into how NIMA stands as a beacon of peaceful coexistence.
For years, NIMA has been a melting pot of cultures where people of different faiths and ethnic groups have built a strong community. This peaceful coexistence is not by accident. It is a result of mutual respect, shared traditions, and a deep understanding of each other's values. But what makes this unity possible? How do community leaders, religious groups, and everyday residents work together to ensure harmony? To understand how NIMA has maintained its peace over the years, I spoke to one of the religious leaders who plays a vital role in fostering unity.
Our religion, Islam, it means peace. So we live with everybody equally, no differences. Our only differences is the religion. Maybe we are praying, we are going to your church or whatever. So we don't have any problem with them. The celebration of our Salah, like you said, if we do our rice and the meat or whatever, they are the first person we're supposed to give because of the love.
But beyond leaders, it is the people of NIMA who uphold the unity. Fosaini has lived in the community for years and understands how peaceful coexistence works in this community.
I live here, I'm going to 60 years in NIMA. I was born in NIMA, living in NIMA. I'm a Muslim in NIMA. You know, we Muslims, We live here peace with Christians. We are Christians, we don't have problem. We are sharing, we are eating, we are moving together.
Ramadan is a sacred time for Muslims worldwide. But here in Nima, a diverse community of Muslims and Christians, the spirit of Ramadan is embraced by all. Christian women in the community also show support, fostering peaceful coexistence. Hajia Hawa, a Muslim trader, shared how her Christian neighbor helps by watching her goods in the market while she is not around.
We Muslims, we are free. We like everybody. You are Christian. We are the same thing.
Florence Opari, a Christian trader, tells me she is mindful of her Muslim friends and tries not to irritate them. She tells me she even helps and attends Muslim celebrations each time she is invited.
You know them, they know you. You know their religion, they know your religion. You know what they want, they know what you want. You know what they hate. So you don't go to that side. You see, you don't provoke the person with the religion or whatever. So you just live nicely together. You see, I deal with money, so I can't leave my money with somebody. But they say, when I know the prices of their things, I turn to the customer for them. Sometimes we have our differences, but it's just a short while we come together again.
In many communities, places of worship and meetings often define religious boundaries. But here at CDR in Nima, there are no divisions. Muslims, Christians, and people of all faiths share this space seamlessly. It's a rare example of true unity, where religion is not what separates people, but what brings them together. Whether Muslim, Christian, or from another faith, this place welcomes everyone without distinction. Revenue collector for Ayawaso East, Sarah Aqua, tells me there are no barriers but people peacefully coexisting. At CDR, religion is not a dividing line but a shared experience.
Nima's story is proof that unity is possible when mutual understanding and respect leads the way. As Ghana celebrates its Heritage Month, this community reminds us that peaceful coexistence is not just an ideal, it is a reality that can be lived every day. Christabel Success Trevor, reporting for TV3 News, Nima.
Well, that was a great piece from my colleague, Christabel Success. And I want to use this opportunity to, re-echo the, how proud I am of your exploit and many more.
Oh, George, thank you so much. I'm blushing. And I use this to say Happy International Women's Day to all women, my mom, and every other woman in Ghana. You're doing great. You're doing great. I love how you're looking, though.
I like what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Who did that for you?
Lawrence Samu did that.
Nice.
You can find him on IG, though, so yeah.
So on that note, we end today's edition of Weekend Central. I came to you live from the news hub here at Addis Ababa. For more news updates, just log on to our website, s3news.com. My name is George Craning.
And I am Judith Brown. A pleasure coming to you always. Bye-bye.
Sure. Good afternoon.
Happy International Women's Day to all women. So as a women's rights activist,